Before we start class, inshallah, we have some copies of the book that we're studying that one of the virtuous brothers purchased for distribution for those who are going to follow along and are able to read from the text and benefit. So before we begin, who doesn't have a copy of the book and intends to attend the class? The book is not just a book to get, it's a book to benefit from. If you're going to attend the class, then those students take precedence. Alhamdulillah. You're going to attend the class? MashaAllah. This reminds me of the class of Sheikh Abdul Muhsin and his son, Sheikh Abdul Razak, Hafidhahum Allah. They would always announce at the beginning of a class that there is a noble and virtuous brother who has purchased a number of copies for the students. Subhanallah. May Allah reward them. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairah. هذا أبو وائل. Maybe he doesn't have a book. MashaAllah. It's the good print too. MashaAllah. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Turn to page 149. Let me see. Fasting. Huh? Same as mine. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So we begin reading this evening, seeking the help and the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the book entitled Kitab al-Fiqh al-Muyassar fi Dawi al-Kitabi was-Sunnah. The book which is entitled Al-Fiqh al-Muyassar, the simplified or facilitated Islamic jurisprudence in the light of the book and the Sunnah. In the light of the book and the Sunnah. And we will be reading from Kitab As-Siyam, the book of fasting. The book of fasting. But before that, we see that the title of this book, Kitab al-Fiqh al-Muyassar fi Dawi al-Kitabi was-Sunnah. The book with regards to the facilitated fiqh in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah. The word al-fiqh is the masdar of faqiha yafqahu, ifqah, fiqhan, and faqiha, it means fahima in the Arabic language. Linguistically, الفقه هو الفهم. الفقه هو الفهم. Some of the people of knowledge, they have mentioned that الفقه is الفهم الدقيق, يعني a detailed understanding. يعني based upon that, one would say يعني فقهت المسألة I understood the mas'ala, yani this affair and the religion, because this is a detailed understanding. And one, he would not say, based upon this understanding here, one, he would not say, فَقِهْتُ أَنَّ السَّمَاءَ فَوْقَنَا. I understand that the sky is above us. He wouldn't use the word fiqh here, because this is not something that requires detail. And according to those who mentioned that al-fiqh, it is al-fahm al-daqiq. Al-fahm al-daqiq. And this is what has been mentioned by the people of knowledge. But Allah knows best. If we return to the dictionaries of the Arabic language, you will find that faqiha, it means fahima, waznan wa ma'nan. It has the same meaning. Ya Shu'aybu ma nafqahu kathiran mimma taqul. Ma nafqahu kathiran mimma taqul. Oh Shu'ayb, we do not understand much of what you are saying. This is mentioned in the Quran. The word fiqh. The word fiqh, it means to understand. It means to understand. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. So that they can understand my statement, understand my speech. So therefore, in general, the word al-fiqh, it means al-fahm. It means al-fahm. The verb is from the bab sami'a. You say faqiha, yafqahu, like sami'a, yasma'u. This is the one that means fahima yafhamu. He understood. But there's another word or another way that it comes, faqaha, yafqahu, min babi fataha. Faqaha, it means that he preceded others in understanding. Sabaqahum fil fiqh. So if you understood, one of them understood, he would say faqihtul mas'ala. But if one of them, the students, he understood quicker than another one, he would say about him faqaha. Faqaha. That he understood. Sabaqa ghayrahu fil fiqh. And if you put the verb in the bab of karuma, you say faquha, yafquhu. And this verb came like this in different scales. Faqiha, faqaha, faquha. And all of them have a different meaning. So faquha yafquhu, sara faqihan. وكان الفقه سجيا له. You would say faquha rajulu. If any understanding in fiqh and the religion became like a natural disposition for him, it became very easy and facilitated for him until it's like a part of him, and he's able to understand very easily and in a beautiful and a good manner. You say about this person, faquha, faquha. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, خياركم في الإسلام خياركم في الجاهلية ما فقهوا, so long as they gain the understanding and the religion, gain the understanding of the religion. So this is the linguistic understanding of the word fiqh. This is what we're studying here. Al-fiqhu al-muyassar, the facilitated fiqh, the facilitated understanding. But here it's not intended just understanding. What is intended now is not the linguistic meaning of the word fiqh, but rather the legislative meaning. So the people of knowledge with regards to the legislative meaning, al-fiqh istilahan, they mentioned that it has a number of usages. First and foremost, the word al-fiqh is used in the religion, and it's intended understanding the deen in general, understanding the religion in general, and understanding coupled with action. This one is called al-fiqh fi din. You need to understand the creed, and to understand the affairs of al-iman, and then likewise the pillars of al-islam, and to understand the obligations and the worship and how to perform them, and to understand the halal and the haram, and to understand the contracts and the dealings and the manners, and all aspects of the religion. This is called al-fiqh fi din. Al-fiqh fi din. This is what the Prophet ﷺ, he referred to in that well-known narration, Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi din. That whoever Allah wants good for, He'll grant him an understanding in the religion. And this is what is intended here, the general meaning of the word fiqh, in the legislation, which is an all-encompassing understanding of the religion coupled with action. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned, لم يكن السلف يطلقون اسم الفقه إلا على العلم الذي صاحبه العمل. That the Salaf, they did not used to use the word fiqh except to refer to knowledge that is accompanied with action. that is accompanied with action. So even if a person, for example, he memorized and learned a number of affairs in creed and in tawheed, for example, in the asma'i wa sifat, and he memorized qawaid and principles and usul, and he memorized some halal and haram, or a number of verses from the book of Allah, and likewise a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he did not apply that, then he is not carrying fiqh. He's not having, the knowledge he has is not fiqh. And because fiqh is the type of knowledge that's coupled with action. That's coupled with action. Rather, the knowledge that he's carrying is a proof against him. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, Al-Qur'anu hujjatun laka aw alayka. The Qur'an is a proof for you or against you. So before a person will be considered having fiqh in the religion, having understanding in the deen, then he would have to learn, no doubt, and learn those principles and learn those fundamentals and foundations, and likewise memorize the text and the likes, but then that must be coupled with action in order to truly have fiqh. And at this time the knowledge becomes beneficial. At this time the knowledge becomes beneficial. Before that it didn't sink into the heart. And if the knowledge that sinks into the heart, it brings about action. And this is the reality of this knowledge. It's revelation. So this proper understanding will bring about action. It'll bring about beautiful speech and action and conduct and manners and dealings and the likes like this. So this is the first meaning of al-fiqh, yani the general understanding of the religion. The general understanding of the religion. But the scholars of fiqh, which are known as al-fuqaha. Al-fuqaha is the plural of al-faqih. Al-faqih is the one who has fiqh and the one who is diligent in this affair, and he's well versed in the science of jurisprudence. And this could be a translation for this word here, al-fiqhu al-muyassar, the facilitated jurisprudence. What is intended from that is the Islamic law. The Islamic law with regards to the actions. With regards to the actions and the deeds and the contracts and the likes like this. So the fuqaha, whenever they discuss the issue of fiqh, like in the likes of these books, they have a specific definition. And they say, al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya al-muktasabu min adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. That the definition for the fiqh, yani this is a book of fiqh and this is what we're studying. So this is what is intended, al-ilm. So this is a type of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya. Knowledge of the applicable legislative rulings. Yani the legislative rulings that are performed in application. What is required from these legislative rulings is to perform them and to act upon them. To act upon them. So what is intended here are the actions. So this excludes the creed and belief. So whenever they use the word fiqh here, they're not referring to creed and aqidah. They're not referring to tawheed and iman and these issues. And they're referring to, as I mentioned, jurisprudence, meaning laws and regulations and limits and obligations and prohibitions, and that which is allowed and that which is permissible and that which is forbidden and that which is impermissible from statement and from action. From statement and from action. So this here is related specifically to the actions. Specifically to the actions. So this is a knowledge. This is a type of knowledge about the legislative rulings related to the actions. And this knowledge, al-muktasabu min adillatiha tafsiliyya. And this knowledge is derived from al-muktasabu, yani al-ma'khudhu, al-mustanbatu, min adillatiha at-tafsiliyya, that is derived from its evidences. And these rulings, they're derived from the detailed evidences. The rulings that one will study, they're derived from the detailed evidences, meaning from the Quran and the Sunnah. And this is the proper way and the correct way. And this is what the title of this book indicates likewise, that this fiqh, it is facilitated. But likewise, fi dawi al-Kuttaab wa Sunnah, in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah, in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah. So therefore, al-fiqh, yani in this understanding here, is jurisprudence, and it's a knowledge that clarifies, or it's a knowledge that is related to the legislative rulings, that are related to the actions. The knowledge of the legislative rulings that are related to the actions, and this knowledge is derived from the detailed evidences. This knowledge is derived from from the detailed evidences. And the evidences from the Quran and from the Sunnah. For example, from the understanding of fiqh is that it's an obligation to make wudu whenever you stand for the prayer. And that ruling is derived from the detailed evidence in Ayatul Wudu. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. So that's the detailed evidence. Derived from that evidence is the fiqh, is the understanding of the obligation of having wudu whenever you stand for prayer. You understand that? That's the ruling. That ruling is derived from the detailed evidence. This is called fiqh. This is called fiqh. Al-fiqh. This is what they're speaking of. And this is what this book is about jurisprudence, about the clarification of the legal rulings and limits that are set in Al-Islam. Al-fiqhu al-Islami, Islamic jurisprudence. Islamic jurisprudence. And this definition here that the people of knowledge, they generally mention, and what they're referring to here, this is the fiqh of al-ulama al-kibar, al-mujtahideen. Like the fiqh of the four imams and the likes like this, and those who were upon their way, from those who had reached a high level in understanding. And they were able to derive the rulings from the evidences, and they had this ability of ijtihad, malakatul ijtihad. Allah blessed them with that and favored them with that. But there's another definition likewise. It's beneficial for students who are serious about learning their religion to memorize the likes of these definitions. I repeat it again. Al-fiqhu lughatan al-fahm. Al-fiqh lughatan fahm. Fiqh in the Arabic language, it means fahm. Any understanding. It means understanding. And the verse has proceeded with regards to that. And as for in the legislation or istilahan, then the general ruling with regards to the likes of these books, or the general definition, al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya al-muktasabu min adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. Al-muktasabu min adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. Al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya al-muktasabu min adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. Another definition, this is with regards to the fiqh of the mujtahideen, the fiqh of Abi Hanifa and Malik and Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad and the likes, rahimahumullah. And they're the ones who have the ability to derive these rulings in that manner. But we could change it briefly, and the people of knowledge, they mentioned this. Al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya ma'a adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. Ma'a adillatiha al-tafsiliyya. This is also considered fiqh, and this is also a great level, and this is what we're striving for. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and it is the knowledge of the legislative rulings related to the actions along with the evidences along with the detailed evidences. You see the difference? The first one, al-muktasabu min adillatiha tafsiriyya. So somebody has to be able to derive them. The other definition, ma'a adillatiha tafsiriyya. Al-ilmu bil-ahkam al-shar'iyya al-amaliyya ma'a adillatiha tafsiriyya. This is also called fiqh. It's lower than the first level though. But it's still high and a lofty status to know the ruling and al-Islam coupled with the proof, coupled with the detailed evidence. And this is true knowledge. Al-ilmu ma'rifatul huda bi dalilihi ma dhaka wa taqlilu yastawiyani. Like Ibn Qayyim, he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala. So this is another level of fiqh, and what this word is intended here, that he will know the Islamic ruling with regards to the actions, and he will know the proof for that. It will be coupled along with the evidence. This is called fiqh. Al-fiqhu fi ad-din. Al-fiqhu fi ad-din. Ma'rifatu al-huda bi dalilihi. This is true knowledge. Also, the word fiqh, legislatively, is used to refer to حفظ المتون أو حفظ الفروع الشرعية. حفظ فروع الشريعة. To memorize the rulings. To memorize the rulings. For example, somebody who memorized a text from the text of one of the madhahib in fiqh, he will memorize that, and he will know that this issue is halal and this issue is haram, and he'll know that this affair is obligatory and this affair is recommended, and he'll know that this affair is impermissible and this affair is allowed and this one is disliked, even if he didn't know the proof. But he knows the ruling. For example, even if he knows, for example, that praying is an obligation, This is a type of fiqh in the deen. Although no doubt it's a low level, he doesn't know the proof. If you said, give me the proof, he doesn't know the proof, but he knows certainly that praying 5 times a day is an obligation. He knows that alcohol is haram. He knows that backbiting is haram. If you ask him to give you the proof from the Quran, he doesn't know the proof. He doesn't know the proof. Or if you ask him for the hadith, he doesn't know the hadith. But he knows for sure, with certainty, that backbiting is haram, for example. So he has fiqh likewise. And this is in a lower level of fiqh in the religion, but no doubt it's a type of fiqh. It's a type of fiqh. So the fiqh that we're looking for is al-fiqh, is العلم بالأحكام الشرعية العملية مع أدلتها التفصيلية. To learn the legislative rulings with regards to these actions, the jurisprudence coupled with the evidence. And this book here is a beautiful place to begin, because as the title mentions, it's al-fiqh al-muyassar, that is simplified. It's made easy. All the differences of opinions are pushed to the side, and the issue is just set in brief and to clarify the ruling, and the evidence is coupled with it likewise to clarify the details of that. And it is collected by a group of scholars, and it has an introduction by Sheikh Salih Ali Sheikh, verifying that it is beneficial and that the work that is put forth in this book is correct, and the likes, and one should benefit from that. So this is the case here. We begin reading. He says, they say, Rabi'an, Kitabu As-Siyami. Kitabu As-Siyam, the chapter of As-Siyam. As-Siyam means fasting. As-Siyam is the masdar of Sama. Sama yasumu. Sum. Sawman wa siyaman. Sawman wa siyaman. As-Sawm is As-Siyam. So one could say Kitabu Sawm. Or one could say Kitabu As-Siyam. The meaning is the same. And in the Arabic language, Kitabu As-Siyam, both of them are masdar, is a masdar. Kitabu As-Siyam. He says, they say, وَيَشْتَمِلُ عَلَى خَمْسَةِ أَبْوَابٍ. وَيَشْتَمِلُ عَلَى خَمْسَةِ أَبْوَابٍ. And it consists of 5 chapters. So the book of fasting here, it consists of 5 chapters. Al-Bab al-Awwal, the first chapter. في مقدمات الصيام وفيه مسائل. The first chapter with regards to the introductory affairs of fasting. وَفِيهِ مَسَائِل. And in this chapter there are masail. Masail, it means issues. It means issues. Masail is the plural of mas'ala. Mas'ala. The religion is masail wa dalail. Al-masail wa dalail. It is issues. Issues that he will learn, and they are coupled with the evidences. Masail ma'a adillatiha or dalailiha. That the religion is based like this. There are masail, issues in the religion, religious-based issues, and they're coupled with their evidences. This is a proper way of learning. This is the proper way of learning. The word mas'ala, which is the singular form of masail, in the language it means to ask a question. Mas'ala. Mas'ala. You say sa'ala yas'alu is'al su'alan. Well, mas'ala is something that one asks about. So these issues in the religion, they're things that one should ask about. And each one of these issues, each one of these topics is something one can say, what is the ruling of this? Or what would one do if this happens? And the likes like this. These are the masail. So these are the masail that they're discussing. The first chapter, في مقدمات الصيام, with regards to the introductory affairs of fasting. In this chapter there are masail, meaning that there are issues that are going to be discussed and clarified. Al-mas'alatu al-ula, the first issue. تعريف الصيام وبيان أركانه. تعريف الصيام وبيان أركانه. The first issue, the first mas'ala, is the definition of fasting and the clarification of its pillars. The definition of fasting and the clarification of its pillars. If we understand linguistically what the mas'ala means, it's something that you ask about. So as we're going to, inshallah, turn this work that we study into As-Su'al wal-Jawab. As-Su'al wal-Jawab, or As'ila wa Ajwiba. As-Su'al means question, and Jawab it means answer. The plural of Su'al is As'ila, and the plural of Jawab is Ajwiba. So we're going to make As'ila and Ajwiba, and we're going to review them inshallah, and if we have time we're going to have a test. See if you can answer the questions to the Masail, and bring the Dala'il along with the Masail. So the Mas'ala al-Ula, what does it say? Ta'rifu as-siyam wa arkanuhu. So then we will say, for example, ma ta'rifu as-siyam wa ma arkanu as-siyam. This is the question now, the issue that we're studying. We understand? What is the definition of fasting? What are the pillars of fasting? What is the definition of fasting? Ma ta'rifu as-siyami. And what are the pillars of fasting? Ma arkan as-siyam. Or udhkur arkan as-siyam. Bayyin arkan as-siyam. Like this. Udhkur arkan as-siyam. You with me? No. Alhamdulillah. They say, أولا تعريفه. Number one, the first answer to the first question is definition. The definition of fasting. It says, الصيام في اللغة الإمساك عن الشيء. الصيام في اللغة الإمساك عن الشيء. That fasting linguistically, it means to refrain from something. Fasting linguistically, it means to refrain from something. To refrain from something. This is general. الإمساك عن الشيء. الإمساك means to refrain. أمسك يمسك أمسك إمساكا. أمسكت عن الكلام. أمسكت عن الكلام. I refrain from speaking. So the same thing you would say, صمت عن الكلام. I refrain from speaking. المسلم يصوم عن الكذب. المسلم يصوم عن الكذب. يعني يمسك لسانه عن الكذب. That's the meaning linguistically. That a Muslim, he will refrain from lying. Refrain from lying. A Muslim, he will hold his tongue from lying. Yumsik. Also, amsaka means to grab something. Amsik al-jawal. Grab the jawal. Or you could even say masaktuhu likewise. But here, al-imsak means to refrain from something. So you say linguistically, amsik lisanaka an al-kadhib. Refrain your tongue from lying. And then you could respond, sumtu. I refrain my tongue from lying. And you use the word fasting. Use the word fasting, or the word sama, or the word som, like this. We understand that? Likewise, with regards to actions. To actions. If somebody didn't visit you, you say to them, for example, lima ما لك سمت عن زيارتي. ما لك سمت عن زيارتي. يعني لماذا أمسكت عن الزيارة ولم تزورني؟ ما لك سمت عن زيارتي. Why are you refraining from visiting me? And why haven't you? The meaning is, why haven't you visited me? The point is that the word som is being used here to refer to refraining from an action. So they're saying here that som لغة الإمساك عن الشيء. يعني عن الفعل أو عن الكلام. عن الفعل أو عن الكلام. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned about Maryam, and he said, فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. And say to them that verily I have made an oath to Ar-Rahman to make a fast, and I will not speak to any human being today. And so here the word fasting means to refrain from speaking. So this is the linguistic understanding in this verse. إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. Verily, I have made an oath to Ar-Rahman that I will fast. What is the fast intended here? The legislative fast? The linguistic fast. What clarifies that? فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنسِيًّا. So, and I will never speak, and I will not speak to human being today. And I will not speak to any man today. So therefore, she made an oath to refrain from speaking to the people. And the word som is being used. The word som is being used. So this is the linguistic meaning. So if somebody said, what is the linguistic meaning? ما تعرف الصيام لغة. What is it? What is the definition of fasting لغة? What do we say? الإمساك عن الشيء. Or to call الإمساك مطلقا. الإمساك مطلقا. You need to refrain from something absolutely. To refrain from something absolutely. If somebody had trouble with the Arabic language, we could say, what do you translate the word sawm to be linguistically? What is the translation of sawm linguistically? Abstinence. Abstinence or refraining from something. Refraining from something or abstaining from something. Or abstaining from something. We finished with the linguistic aspect? طيب, he says, وفي, or they say, وفي الشرع, and in the legislation. In the legislation, meaning with regards to the definition in the deen. الإمساك عن الأكل والشرب وسائر المفطرات مع النية من طلوع الفجر الصادق إلى غروب الشمس. من طلوع الفجر الصادق إلى غروب الشمس. So he says, or so they say in the legislation, meaning the legislative definition, الإمساك عن الأكل والشرب وسائر المفطرات. وسائر المفطرات. That one, he will refrain from eating and from drinking and from the rest of the things that will break one's fast. مع النية, along with the intention. من طلوع الفجر الصادق, from the rising of the true Fajr, إلى غروب الشمس, until the sunset. Until the sunset. And this is the definition that they mention. And this is the definition that they mention. Some of the people of knowledge, they'll add a word to this definition. And they will begin it with التعبد. التعبد لله. التعبد لله. I need to clarify that this is an action of worship. So from the definitions that have been mentioned, from Shaykhina Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, التعبد لله عز وجل من شخص مخصوص بالإمساك عن المفطرات من طلوع الفجر إلى غروب الشمس. نعم. Again, التعبد لله. التعبد لله. That a person, he will seek nearness to Allah. يتقرب إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى with this action, with this imsak. التعبد لله. So it's an act of worship. It's an action of worship. That one, he performs it seeking nearness to Allah. That one performs it hoping for a reward from Allah. The one performs it while he's hoping for the pleasure and the mercy of Allah. This is why he's performing the action. التعبد لله. التعبد لله. Who is performing that action of worship? من شخص مخصوص. From a specific person. From a specific person. We're going to learn about that specific person, inshallah, and the work. That this ta'abbud, it will come from a specific person, not from everybody. That it's only accepted from a specific person. The person that the conditions, the conditions of the correctness of the worship will be gathered in them. تتوافر فيهم شروط الصحة, صحة الصيام. That they will have the conditions of the correctness of the fast. And this is the one who is intended. بالإمساك. What type of worship is it? بالإمساك عن المفطرات. By refraining and abstaining from everything that breaks the fast. From everything that breaks the fast. من طلوع الفجر, from the rising of the Fajr, إلى غروب الشمس. إلى غروب الشمس, until the sunset. Until the sunset. So that means it's ta'abbud lillah. Fasting, الصيام اصطلاحا, is that ta'abbud lillah, to worship Allah. So the one who refrained from the food and the drink in the right time, and the likes like this, he refrained from everything that breaks the fast, from the rising of the Fajr until the setting of the sun. But he wanted to lose weight. He wanted to lose weight. His intention is to cure a disease that he has. The doctors advised him that he has to, he needs to fast because of a health situation. So therefore he's fasting for this reason. This will not be considered a siyam shar'an. This will not be considered a siyam shar'an. This is not fasting legislatively. Because fasting legislatively, first and foremost, is at-ta'abbudu lillah. At-ta'abbudu lillah. Likewise, if somebody were fasting, but he's showing off from the very beginning. From the very beginning, he's only fasting, he wants people to see him, to praise him, or to have a position with him, and the likes like that, for them to say good about him, or to get something from their dunya, and the likes like that, then also this will not be considered fasting, because it has to be at-ta'abbudu lillah. So in the statement at-ta'abbudu lillah, this is the condition of al-ikhlas. The condition of al-ikhlas, that it has to be for the sake of Allah. That it has to be for the sake of Allah. And then it will be from a specific type of person. We're going to learn about that person, inshallah. And it will be by al-imsak. And they mentioned here, عن الأكل والشرب وسائر المفطرات. Yani al-akl wa-shurb is the most well known. But likewise there are others. So that's why they included wasair al-mufattirat, and the rest of the affairs that break the fast. And as we learn this chapter, inshallah, we'll go into a little bit of detail, especially with regards to the words, so that we learn vocabulary. Along with these classes. Especially since, alhamdulillah, last year we studied this book, but it was very brief. This year we make the same book, but a little bit more detail, but not too much. But we'll benefit, inshallah, from the lugha. Al-mufattirat, this is the plural of mufattir. Al-mufattir. Al-mufattir is something that breaks the fast of a fasting person. It causes his fast to be broken. Things that will break the person's fast, like eating in the daytime, and while one's fasting, eating and drinking, and the likes like this. These things are called mufattirat. And the people of knowledge, they have any mustalahat that they use in knowledge. And the knowledge, it has a lugha. And the people of knowledge, they have a lugha, and that they use, and terms that they use. With regards to the things that break the fast, they call them mufattirat. With regards to the things that invalidate the wudu, they call them nawaqid. With regards to the things that invalidate the prayer, they call them mubtilat. They have mubtilat as-salat, and you have nawaqid al-wudu, and you have here mufattirat as-siyam. And these are from the terminology of the people of knowledge. And this is how they refer to them. So this word here is al-mufattirat. Al-mufattirat. So for example, drinking is mufattir. And eating is mufattir. And having relations is mufattir. It will break a person's fast. It will break his fast. So al-mufattir, this is ism fa'il. Sah? What's the verb? Fattara. Fattara yufattiru, fattir taftiran, taftiran. That means that something broke that person's fast, something that will break the fast. Al-aklu yufattiru sa'im. The eating, it will break the fasting person's fast. If you said aftara, yuftiru aftir iftaran, ay dakhala fi fitr. Now a person, whenever he wants to break his fast, he what does he do? Yuftiru. He'll eat. So we use the verbs. The verbs, maybe linguistically they have a very similar meaning, but in the legislation they're different, and even linguistically there's difference. So we wouldn't say muftirat. We'll say here al-mufattirat. Al-mufattirat. You say ana aftartu. I broke my fast. And whenever you break your fast intentionally like this, he wants to break his fast at the time of Maghrib, what does he do? Yuftiru ala tamr wa ma'. He'll break his fast on dates and water, like this. If somebody did something they're not supposed to do, intentionally, like eating and the likes like that, this one, fattarahu. This action here broke his fast. These affairs here, one must avoid them. The mufattirat, one must avoid them. Yumsiku anha. We understand that? He will avoid them. He will refrain from them while he's fasting. These are the mufattirat. So therefore, legislatively, it is to refrain from the eating and drinking and the rest of the mufattirat. But he says here, ma'a niyya, along with the intention. We added them in the beginning, at-ta'abbudu lillah. Sah? At-ta'abbudu lillah. Here he says, ma'a niyya. What's the difference between the two? He said ma'a niyya. But we say it's better in the beginning to say along with that at-ta'abbud lillah.
Yeah, it's not sufficient.
Yeah,
not sufficient.
Is at-ta'abbud lillah is what? Al-ikhlas. Isn't this niyya? Niyya? No, both types. The niyyah is two types. What are they? Ikhlas. You have niyatu al-ma'muri lahu wa niyatu al-amal. So at-ta'abudu lillah, this one is niyatu al-ma'muri lahu. And who was the action performed for? Who was the action performed for? And in the definition, when we add to it, at-ta'abudu lillah, now it's clear that this action must be performed for Allah alone. That covers the condition of ikhlas. Then whenever it says ma'aniyah, that means that one, he has to have the intention for the action. He has to have the intention for the action. So he'll have the intention to do it for the sake of Allah alone, and he has the intention to fast. And he has the intention to fast. So one of them is niyatu al-ma'muri lahu, and the other one, this one here, ma'aniyah, they're referring to here niyatu al-amal, the niyyah of the action. So one, he has to have a niyyah. So we're going to see that in fasting, it has pillars. From the pillars that you have to have the intention to fast. No doubt it has to be for the sake of Allah, but one, he has to have the intention to fast, and it has to be performed at the proper time. And the likes like this. So the first one, at-ta'abudu lillah. At-ta'abudu lillah bil-imsak, that's one is ikhlas. To worship Allah alone. To intend to worship Allah alone by refraining from the food and from the drink and from the rest of the things that break the fast, along with the intention of fasting. The intention of fasting. The intention of fasting. من طلوع الفجر الصادق إلى غروب الشمس. From the rising of the true fajr until the setting of the sun. Until the setting of the sun. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.